Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. All right. I'm in my seat. All right. All right, y'all. I'm in the cockpit. Let's go. All right. So we have a great huddle plan for you today. I came up with some notes and I was going to call the first part of the conversation the Cal State Pimp versus the Colorado Tussle. All right, so there's a lot of conversation around a tussle happening at the Colorado Buffs football facility. I have a video, we'll talk about it. But there's also a story circulating that 4 million people have seen that I haven't heard much about a coach at Cal State being a pimp. And that was reported by ESPN. We're going to take a look at that. Shout out to Regina Daniels, which is Jada Daniels' mom. She is now officially an NFL Players Association certified agent, and why she'll need to be this season to advocate for Jada Daniels, her son. And the Cleveland Browns, the quarterback shuffle. So a name circulated earlier today. Justin Fields into the conversation, and then suddenly I began to hear what sounds like a change in strategy or a and welcome to What She Said Sports. Do not forget to what? Hype me up. Do not forget to hype me up and like and subscribe. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up. All right. So first and foremost, let's get into the Cal State Pimp versus the Colorado Tussle. All right. I think if you play football and people know, everybody knows the game is violent. Some of the criticism has been the players are out of control. Yes, there's some spoof accounts out there, but everybody's talking about it, as if it's the first fight you've ever seen at a football facility practice or whatever. I would think that this is kind of not new. I think we saw this last year because you want these players to build up all of this, aggression so they can come out here and practice at 110%. And sometimes the aggression just goes past the point of where you expect it to go. I don't think it's anything new. I think it's a nothing, right? I think it's a nothing, but we'll take a look at it. You have Sincere Brown, who spoke out, and because people are talking about it, I don't think you want to know more about the Cal State Pimp. So Sincere Brown, who made himself eligible for the NFL draft, has said, for my dogs at Colorado, one thing I learned about playing for Colorado, please don't get caught up in this Twitter stuff, because this is just what fans do. He said they're fans for a reason. I guess meaning not players, they're fans. It said, y'all boys at Colorado, keep doing well. Keep doing y'all's thing and pray for a great season this year. And that got like 11,000 views. Shout out to Sincere Brown for giving guidance to the young guys. These types of things are going to happen. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Now, I will say this. When I saw the actual tussle itself, let's take a look at it. It just looked a little familiar. I can say it looks a little familiar. Right? This is Hakeem Williams and Cree Thomas. So wide receiver versus DB. So you can understand, see how the aggression, this is what they're looking for in practice when they were tussling, right? And the aggression it keeps going, right? So I think this is football, right? Am I right? This is football. You have to anticipate that the aggression that you want them to have is going to go past the point of where you want it to go. And they have to learn, that this is the play and the play comes to an end. Don't let it turn into anything else, right? If you play football or have kids that play football, what are your thoughts about this? Like, people are saying, the player's out of control. I'm like, no, it's just football. And because Colorado records, you want to see these types of things. You think these don't happen at other schools? They just don't have the media to show. And what do y'all think about the media showing it? Knowing it's likely going to invite some conversation. To replay, and then you let them know, okay, at this point, stop tussling and walk away from the play. Do not allow it to go past this point. That's just what you do. You have to teach them, I guess it's going to be controlled aggression, right? But you need the aggression to play the sport. Am I right? So everybody loves Cree Thomas. They said he's a dog based on the way he plays. I don't know how Coach Prime would feel about this, but it's not new. We saw this last year, right? I saw last year somebody had to pick Juju up and pull him out of a pile before a tussle ensued, right? So it's not new. Well, so the part that looks familiar is I thought of Shiloh. I was like, well, it just made me think about Shiloh at Tampa, all the guys hitting each other's on the practice helmets and stuff like that. But this is not any type of indictment of Coach Prime. It's not any type of indictment of the program, being out of control. This is just football and it's just being filmed. And these are young people, and coaches have to have them to replay it and teach them this is where it stops. Drop arms and move on. It's a teachable moment. That's how I look at it. It's just a teachable moment. All right. So let me know your thoughts there. All right. So let's get on to the Cal State pimp. Okay. All I know is that let me see. Let me get back to it because that was hilarious. I was like, y'all should be talking about a pimp pimping out students, or is he pimping out women? But whatever. The point is he's over young people at a university and he accused pimping out folks. Was he selling them to the players? In other words, that is the bigger story, right? The Cal State pimp is the bigger story. Let me know how you feel about it. Just the headlines alone. It said police say a coach on a Cal State Bakersfield men's basketball team was moonlighted as a pimp across 4 different states. It said multiple dismissals have occurred at Cal State Bakersfield as an investigation probes who knew what and when. See, that's the biggest story. And they got a basketball player on there, and he wasn't the pimp, so I didn't want to show that photo. So one more time. A Cal State men's basketball coach was moonlighting as a pimp across 4 states. He's not even the head coach. It just say a coach. Yeah, a coach. So that's the bigger story. 4 states, that's the eye catcher. Moonlighting as a pimp, eye catcher. Now, let me tell y'all something. Just from the things that I follow and keep up with, this is not new, right? Now, the word pimp might not be used in the other situations that I'm going to talk about, but that's kind of what it is. This one was 4 states. LSU had a problem. They had some coaches who were pimping out some of the girls, women, students, right? That came and went, but I don't know if they used the word pimp. You see what I'm saying? It's the same scenario. See, what people need to understand about college and academia, it's the breeding ground to get next to young people. Very young, impressionable people. High schoolers, you can't go onto their campuses like that. So college is the next best place where they go and do these things. They get the young girls, and sometimes the guys, and they run a prostitution ring. That's really what it is. They're saying he's a pimp because it's cute for headlines. He's clearly running a prostitution ring across 4 different states. LSU got hooked, set up for something like that, but they didn't call it. See, they're carefully worded depending on the school. Apparently, they just put Cal State out there because somebody else said, "Oh, Cal State in trouble again." So somebody got it in for Cal State because they gonna make sure that they catch them headlines, just like they have it in for Coach Prime, and they gonna make sure that they catch them headlines. Right? It's the same thing. But when it was LSU coaches, I think on the football team, with the same type of behavior with women, girls, however you want to say it, it came and went, and it was just discussed, and it didn't become a thing, right? It didn't become a thing. And then there was I was researching sororities when I was following, well, not researching sororities, but I was researching Greek life when Caleb Wilson from Southern University was killed in a hazing incident, right? I was researching Greek life and a lot came up. And one particular prostitution ring came up at a university. I don't want to call the wrong school, but it was an HBCU And the women that were the deed of pledgees were using their Black pledges, because the school's Black. They were using these young Black women who wanted to join a grad chapter, not even the school's official undergrad chapter, but the grad chapter under the, I guess, the guise of the school, but the grad chapter. They were using these grown women and hazing them by pimping them out to local people, men in the community. Some were politicians and senior people at senior in terms of status at their places of employment. It's documented. You can go look it up. They was running a prostitution ring, just like the coach at Cal State, and seemingly what was going on at LSU. And they want to talk about a tussle at Colorado and the very violent sport of football. Get the hell out of here with that. Get out of here with that. Right? That means you're looking for something. You're trying to find fault. Right? You're trying to find fault with Coach Prime. And that's not it. So shout out to Sincere Brown for standing up. You know, Coach Prime, keep doing your thing. I know he ain't worried about those people. He said, Coach Prime actually did post and say something about y'all keep trying to cancel people and this, that, and the other. Because I think people just trying to, go in and they just looking for a reason. I mean, I told y'all what I feel like it's gonna be. And we're gonna do a show tonight about Colorado. We're gonna go a little bit more in depth because I'm seeing a pattern. And I have a theory. I already had it. Y'all already know what it is. I'm side-eyeing folks. And I said I don't want it to come to this, but I shared a post about maybe a week or two ago. And I didn't say much. I just posted it, but it was questionable. And now we're starting to see that there could be an agenda. So we're going to talk about it tonight at 10:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because Lord have mercy. We don't need no more agendas at CU. We just want these young men to ball out. But sometimes people are strategically placed to disrupt. All right. So shout out to Sincere Brown and guys at CU. Just keep doing your thing. Coach Prime, don't worry about these people trying to cancel because you know what my motto for the day is? My motto for the day is you are here. And you know how when you're at the mall and you see they have the thing. I haven't been to the mall in so long, but you know how at the mall they used to have the little thing with the direction on it, the directory, and they have a star and have a map and has a star on it. And with the words, you are here next to it. I was thinking today, we are here. You are here. You're at the point where people are going to do what they want to do. That's just what it is. Let them do it. If Coach Prime got to get, I'm sure he at the point where, people going to do what they want to do. They want to disrupt this program. You're just going to have to let them do it at some point. You can't upend your life because you just had a health battle, right? You don't want to get back to that place trying to save what doesn't want to be saved. These kids are the ones that you look out for. But these adults, they're going to do what they want to do. And we're at a place in time, you let them do it. You let them do it because all they're going to do is expose themselves. Right? So nobody's being canceled. But yeah, they probably going to use it as talking points because why? We know they're trying to push Coach Prime out. And this is just a reminder. This conversation is just a reminder to let you know just because it's quiet and you don't hear them talking about it, don't mean they ain't plotting. It don't mean they don't have a plot put together and they working to execute it. And this is a part of it. All right. So, all right, moving right along. Regina Daniels. Let's get into Regina Daniels. Now, we know Regina Daniels catch flack, and I have things I had said, because I'm not apologizing, because I felt like she was just holding on a little too tight, mother to mother. And but as a businesswoman, I respect her for becoming NFL certified agent. And some people are going to use that to say, well, she just being clingy. Okay, that might be the case, but God can take what you think is a mess and turn it into a message because now her son is going to need someone to advocate for him because I don't know if he has 20 million fans. I really don't. But see, what I do know about the Washington Commanders is I posted this early today, that Jada Daniels' sophomore year was going to be CJ Stroud's sophomore year, and I was correct. I was absolutely correct. They tore it down. Now, Jada Daniels got injured, and his coach, Dan Quinn, caught criticism because he left his star QB out there, didn't protect him, and let him get injured. Well, now, since I was looking into Stefon Diggs, because that's where we're going, I ended up back in Washington with Dan Quinn and his agenda to move to a more traditional run-heavy offense. I said, oh, that's why you didn't protect the quarterback, because you want to change up the offensive scheme. You want to take a dual threat Jada Daniels Heisman winner, who just won Offensive Rookie of the Year and Rookie of the Year in year one, and got y'all all the way damn near to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. You want to take your offense now after you don't protect him in year two, and y'all get injured, and you move on from your offensive coordinator who supported the scheme that supported Jada Daniels. So you moved on from the offensive coordinator that supported the dual threat quarterback that got your butt damn near to the Super Bowl in his rookie year. So you chose not to protect him, to shut him down. And you took advantage of the poor performance with your starting QB shut down to move on from the OC that was planning to try to run it back in year three. So you moved on from Kingsbury. It don't matter who the OC is. You're disrupting the team by moving on from the OC, and you're changing the offensive scheme to a run-heavy offense to lessen the impact of the quarterback that took your tail damn near to the Super Bowl. Now, why would you do a thing like that? And why would the Commanders support it? And why would the NFL just sit quietly by and let it happen? When the Washington Commanders fans are buying into the team with anticipation that Jaden will be healthy, and now we can run it back again. Oh, but now we gotta switch it up a little bit. We gotta get a new OC that's gonna take time. We also pivoting to a run-heavy traditional offense where the quarterback is no longer the center of focal point. Now, why would you want to do a damn thing like that in year two after such a stellar year one? Can y'all guess? Can you guess? So, Regina Daniels getting her certification approved by the NFL Players Association to be an agent. She's going to be more than an agent. She's going to have to be an advocate for her son, because now she's going to have to ask, as fans will ask, as others will want to know, why is it that Dan Quinn has been tapped to lead a change in offensive scheme, which means she's going to have to work to find a way to get her son elsewhere. And I don't know what that's going to be. Or to get the team to be accountable for the switch. Because why did you sign him in year one if you just go switch in year two? Valid question, right? That's a valid question. Why would you sign him in year one if you just go switch? Why would you sign a dual threat quarterback that's highly successful already in his rookie year, and you switch off in your second year because you don't want him to get back as far as he went before or get to the Super Bowl? Just like who? So basically, Dan Quinn is allegedly, based on the information publicly available and documented, the pattern is there, sabotaging his own quarterback. Didn't protect him in year two, and in year two decided to pivot. I wonder how long they knew they were going to pivot to a traditional run-heavy offense that lessens Jaden's impact. I wonder how long it will be if Regina Daniels has not already come to the realization that they allowed her son to get injured to lessen his impact. They didn't protect him to lessen his impact, so he could not get as far as he did in year one. I wonder how long it'll be if she hasn't realized. Did they tell the whole team were pivoting to a more traditional run style heavy offense? Did they tell that to their dual threat phenom quarterback that took their tails damn near to the Super Bowl? So what you gonna do with Jada now? You see the pivot. The pivot is towards further sabotage. And Jaden getting hurt in year 2 while this pivot is planned tells you that when they signed him in year 1 and he went all the way, at some point, they decided, we don't want this. We don't want him to be successful. We don't want the team to go as far as it did in year 1. Because why are you pivoting? These are valid points and questions that need to be asked, because what's happening with Jaden suggests the pattern. Why Shedeur Sanders was held back, why Michael Penix Jr. was held back, why CJ Stroud is being held back. And that's just the 4 of them. The list goes on. And it appears that this could be racially motivated to suppress Black elite quarterbacks, because the aforementioned quarterbacks were all first rounders, highly decorated, highly successful, elite quarterbacks that could all get to the Super Bowl and lead their team. And they all have faced sabotage to derail their careers. The evidence is there. The pattern is there. And you know how they're doing it? With the OC and OC movement. OC movement is to disrupt after you've been successful. It happened to CJ Stroud. It just happened to Jaden Daniels. Kingsbury's gone. And the guy that was the OC and the Texans, when they were successful, they moved him out the next year. Remember when Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl? They moved his OC the next year to New Orleans. Might explain why there's no Black OCs, because you're not going to get no Black offensive coordinators to set up Jada Daniels, Shedeur Sanders, CJ Stroud, and Michael Penix Jr. This is just scratching the surface. I wasn't even looking. It reached out for me. I wasn't even looking. I was just doing research, getting ready for my show, looking into Steffon Diggs and why he was no longer with the Texans. So let's talk about it. We're talking about the quarterback shuffle in Cleveland, and everything I'm saying is relative, including the pivot that they're now making. So let me tell you about the pivot first before we go to Steffon. All we have heard is anybody but Shedeur, whether it was Tyrod Taylor, Anthony Richardson, Ty Simpson, Carson Beck. Hell, the only name they won't talk about is Arch Manning, and that's their guy, right? Now, Justin Fields, Kyler, hell, it was Dante Moore before he went back to school. It was Trinidad Shambliss before he went back to school. It's probably going to be Ty Green with the 5th round pick that Andrew Berry loves so much. But now they're pivoting. Today's been reported in 2 sources. One, Mel Kiper Jr., and the other one, Mary Cabot. So that's national, and then that's local. That the Browns will likely keep the quarterbacks they have on the roster. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a pivot. That is a pivot. Kiper Jr. saying that they'll likely keep their quarterbacks. And I think I read where he said Shedeur Sanders likely will be QB1. Why the pivot? You better look for the play. Yep, you could get excited. You could think it's the gift. You could think whatever you want to think, but you better look for the pivot. You better look for the agenda for the pivot. That's what you better do, because you know they didn't want Shedeur to be QB1. You know that they robbed Shedeur of $40 million, but they made him play the most games last season. More so than Dylan, who Stefanski was oddly attached to. I just asked the question today, are the Browns a catch and release team, meaning they just catch and release all the Black quarterbacks that they have? They just catch the Black quarterbacks that they have by signing them, drafting them, devaluing them, and releasing them, not to be elevated to another team. Name one Black quarterback that left Cleveland in a better position than when he came in. Think about it. It said, are the Browns a catch and release team, meaning signing black quarterbacks, derailing their careers, and releasing them from the league after they've been devalued? The pattern is there. The pattern is there. Big facts. The pattern is there. And I just named 4 of them that are on rookie contracts. 4 of them are on rookie contracts. So that means you can't go nowhere unless you quit, right? So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what happens to Regina Daniels, CJ Stroud, Shedeur Sanders, and Michael Penix Jr., huh? Well, what do we know right now? We know they want to run off CJ Stroud. They calling him trash, even though CJ Stroud has taken his team in the first year damn near to the Super Bowl, like Regina Daniels. CJ Stroud has taken his team to the postseason every year he's been there. I also learned some things about who his receivers are and how it is he was failed. People know that CJ Stroud's O-line failed him, just like Shedeur Sanders' O-line failed him, just like a lineman or 2 failed Regina Daniels before he got hurt. I know, because I watched Atlanta's O-line fail Michael Penix Jr., specifically the center. That's also a pattern. It's just a different pattern. So you got the OC, sabotage by OC and OC movement, sabotage by your O-line. Another interesting pattern that I noticed when I was looking up Stefon Diggs is that the Browns really like the Texans O-lineman. And everybody knows the Texans O-lineman failed CJ Stroud. Now, why do the Browns like the Texans O-lineman so much? That's the question. That's the question that you're going to put a pin in it. But it's something for you to look for because the pattern is there. I think we got 3. One just came in during the season. Green. Cam Robinson is 2. And Titus Howard is 3. They only got 5 people on the O-line. We got 3 of the 5. And yes, that's from 23 to 24 to 25. But the point is, if they fail in CJ Stroud, why are you bringing him over here? So now that Mel Kiper Jr. is saying the NFL will likely keep the quarterbacks they have on the roster, and we know that they want there to be a competition. So they want Shedeur to compete with the people he competed against last year, or is they going to pitch Shedeur against Deshaun? Somebody said, just get a backup and keep it pushing. I mean, they have a backup, right? It is named Dylan. So why Dylan can't be the backup? Because he a backup? Because the Browns don't want to admit that Dylan should have never been drafted ahead of Shedeur and never been put in front of Shedeur when Shedeur won the competition that Dylan was in. Or are they going to blame that on Stefanski when it doesn't matter because he's still making $15 million a year and over there to set up Michael Penix Jr., who's on my very short list of the quarterbacks that are being sabotaged by their OC and or OC movement, including Michael Penix Jr. Does this explain why there are no black offensive coordinators until this year when they started firing nothing but black GMs and didn't hire any black coaches as a means to placated posture to not appear racist? But here we are again. 2024, 2025, you didn't have no black OCs. But that's when all the malfeasance is happening. So yeah, now people can go back and look and see how long were they without black OCs and start with those black quarterbacks that came into the league and see where they are. I'm sure I'll do it. So the Browns, it's being reported they want to keep their quarterbacks. Cool. We already know Shedeur beat Dylan. Does Shedeur really have to compete against Dylan again? Hell to the no. Making Shedeur compete against Dylan is what? Disrespectful. Shedeur already defeated Dylan. It actually makes sense for the Browns to keep the quarterbacks they have on the roster because they know they want to get somebody next year. So now the question is, what scheme have they come up with to lessen Shedeur's impact so he doesn't bow out? and show up the kid that they want to bring in from Texas, the University of Texas, Arch Manning. Because that was the whole reason of the quarterback shuffle. I don't want to win with these current quarterbacks. That's why it happened in 23. That's why the shuffle, QB shuffle, Browns QB shuffle happened in 23, 24, 25, and they were planning on it for 26, but they decided to pivot. Why? Did somebody notice the pattern and say, hey, you might be getting yourself into another situation where you become liable again? And Stefanski just moved out as a legal liability. So then it's going to show that you are the problem. Big facts. Because people are watching. People are watching. And I told you this is the year that you will start to see the pattern. It's not just Shedeur. And here it is. I'm looking up Steffon Diggs. And I see the pattern with C.J. Stroud that I already knew that was there with Regina Daniels. And it's the same as Michael Penix Jr. and Shedeur Sanders. So that's 4 black quarterbacks. There's only was what, 16, 17 to 32? And all of them have white OCs. Might this explain why there's no black OCs? Because you can't trust them with the scheme. Why did they fire Mike Tomlin? He never had a losing season. Because they couldn't trust him not to draft Trinidad Shamblers or Dante Moore or Taylor Green. They couldn't trust him with the scheme. That's why they were leaning on him so hard when he was getting ready to make a draft selection in the first round, and he was scared to death he was going to get Shedeur. In fact, it was said by Dan Orlovsky that Mike Tomlin was advised to draft the Colorado Shedeur Sanders and make him QB2 behind Aaron Rodgers. So what this tells you is Shedeur was being devalued before the draft and the combine actually started. So when Mel Kiper Jr. said the NFL does not want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders now, well, they had already plotted against him to devalue him. So that meant you didn't want him to be QB1 now. Just like you shifted away from your offensive scheme with Jada Daniels that took you almost to the Super Bowl to a more traditional run-heavy style offense. Make it make sense. And is not Magic Johnson a partner, a limited partner in Washington? So that tells you all that's irrelevant, right? Nobody can seemingly stop the devaluing and discrimination of black quarterbacks in this league. Nobody. Not billionaires, fans, friends, family, or the players themselves. The pattern is there, and I already told you was going to go see it, and I found it looking for Stefon Diggs. So in 2023, C.J. Stroud put that team, the Texans, on his back and took them all the way and was cheated against the Kansas City Chiefs. Hence, the refs that were already fired recently were a part of that. Everybody said they were cheated. So they were stopping CJ. They drafted him in the first round, and they only wanted him to get so far. And with Shedeur, we were treated to the fact that they can turn it off and turn it on. Let's just say Shedeur has a good game. So we already know you can turn it off and turn it on. So did the Texans, turn it off so CJ doesn't get as far? What's the motivation for that? Well, let's see. Seemingly, the Commanders are changing their offensive scheme after they were highly successful in year one, didn't protect their quarterback, and year two used that poor performance, supposedly, to kick out the offensive coordinator that supported the scheme that supported Jada Daniels being the center point of the winning. And now, in year three, I want to go to a run-heavy offense with the phenom still over there. So why would the Washington Commanders and the Texans want to stop their own quarterbacks from getting them to the Super Bowl? Because both of those young men put those teams on their backs in their rookie seasons, and both of them got halted in their respective sophomore seasons. And in their third year, the plot is there. I watched that game against the Patriots. CJ's own teammates set him up. I watched it. I can call out some numbers. The offensive coordinator has a lot of explaining to do with personnel decisions and those opening drives. I learned in a very short amount of time that Nico Collins is the lead wide receiver, but that ain't who they was throwing to. And the one they was throwing to only had less than 250 yards for the whole season. So it wasn't a surprise that he had fumble fingers and couldn't catch the ball. Seems familiar. Using a lesser talented player at critical times. Ty Monken, 2023, the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews, who's the quarterback? Lamar Jackson. So add him to the list. That's fine. It's the offensive coordinators and the movement of the offensive coordinators. Like with Jalen Hurts after he won the Super Bowl in Kingsbury in Washington. I just shared with y'all that they said nobody wanted to be the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia, as if Jalen Hurts is the problem. I said, because they don't want to be Stefanski and have to sabotage him publicly and or privately to ruin that young man's career. That's why they didn't want the job, but they didn't want to say that out loud. They want to make it seem like Jalen Hurts is a problem. If all of these NFL teams have problems with black quarterbacks, so much so that when these young men who are highly talented intellectuals and elite put these teams on their backs and get to the goal or this close to it, that you would tear it down, your own house, eliminate their chances of being successful on your team. Why in the hell do you keep drafting black quarterbacks? Which is why the host of black quarterbacks went back to school this year, because they saw it before they got here. Shout out to them for that. Shout out to the quarterbacks in college that learned how to read the goddamn room. And these kids' families better wake up and see what's going on. Shout out to these quarterbacks that all the way back to school, because they're not just seeing what's happening to Shedeur. They saw what's happening to Michael Penix Jr. They saw what's happening to Regina Daniels. They see what's happening to CJ Stroud, and they've been seeing what's happening to Lamar. Shout out to every goddamn black quarterback that went back to college. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up. So Stefon Diggs was there in 2024, the year after CJ Stroud put this team on his back and they got cheated so they could be stopped. And I remember fans talking about that game and talking about the cheating. And people looked at it as an external factor. But now that 2 years have gone by, it's an internal factor. That was internal sabotage using the refs to stop CJ. Because why did the Texans continue it in year 2 and in year 3? So 2020-24 is Steffon Diggs coming in. And I'm like, well, he only played 8 games. I looked it up. He had a torn ACL. I said, interesting. They still had Nico Collins. They had Schultz at the time. That's their tight end. And then they brought in Steffon Diggs. Now, why would you bring in Steffon Diggs when you have Nico Collins and you have Schultz? So what would have happened if Steffon Diggs, who you paid handsomely, if he would have been healthy, who would have been wide receiver 1? So here's my question. Was Steffon Diggs brought into the Texans to replace Nico Collins or the tight end Schultz? Because those are the guys doing all the work. That's like Harold Fannin Jr. and name a wide receiver you believe doing some work in Cleveland. We know who is not. So that's like the Browns this year with, we don't have a wide receiver 1, but if they did, let's just say they did. That's like them having a wide receiver 1, a target. Okay, I'm going to give you one. Let's take Njoku, who was a good target for Shedeur when they let him play. All right, because yes, he was injured, but I do believe those injuries lasted a little longer than they probably should have, because the pattern we saw with the Browns is them moving Shedeur's targets out the way. That's what they were doing to CJ as well. And we keep getting their O-linemen. So there's some communication happening. There's a script somewhere. And it got the Texans and the Browns name on it. And that's going to lead right into why this pivot is happening with the Browns suddenly want to keep the quarterbacks they have. So if Stefon Diggs were healthy, who would have been wide receiver one? Because you're going to have wide receiver one, tight end one, and who? Stefon Diggs make too much money to ride the bench. And even though they let him go in New England, he put up 1,000 yards. He had good numbers. Just because they lost doesn't explain their justification to get rid of him. It says because he had some guarantees that would get ready to be triggered, and it was going to cost them more money to keep him, so they let him go with his guaranteed $26 million. Or was it going to be he was healthy in 2025, so let me take you away from CJ and put you over here with Drake May. And now I don't need you no more since we lost, so bye. You always knew those guarantees and increase in compensation would be there. So you brought him from the Texans for 1 year only to dismiss him. And he's not going to complain about it because he got his money. So you disrupted CJ. In 2024, he was injured with an ACL. In 2025, he was with the Patriots. You were disrupting the roster by bringing Stefon Diggs there because you already had Nico and Schultz, which you still do. But you decided to throw to Christian Kirk, who clearly wasn't ready for the moment. But you knew that. We've seen that before. I ain't just going to call out no names. Underutilizing certain players and putting them in big games. We've seen that happen. That's the OC cause. You see? So it's the OC and the movement of the OC. The movement of the OC is Kingsbury and Jalen Hurts, whoever his OC was. I think he in New Orleans now. And they're gonna be like, well, he got a promotion. Okay. Okay. They're gonna always have an excuse. I always have a justification, but it's the OCs. That is why Atlanta's OC is headed to Tampa to get at Baker Mayfield after he took down Michael Penix Jr. That is why there's one black OC coming up for the 2026 season, because people are starting to catch on that they were keeping it the secret without black offensive coordinators. That's why Tommy Reese, who got a D+ and an absolute failure for not making adjustments, is saying, I love Jerry Jeudy. We want to feature him more. After he was leading the league in drop passes, after he embarrassed the whole team on the sideline, after he was skipping to Malu, I love Jerry Jeudy. We want to keep featuring him more. He got a promotion and went to Atlanta, where Michael Penix Jr. is, as a failure. So it's not about success or failure. It's about, can you sabotage this black quarterback for me? And I'm going to reward you for it. So perhaps is that why there's no black offensive players? That's going to be a question that hangs out there. So Stefon Diggs made it to New England. They lost the Super Bowl. He kicked to the curb. He's giving his money so he don't complain and be quiet. My question to you all yesterday was, should Stefon Diggs come to Cleveland? And y'all were like, For the most part, everybody that said no was like, hell no. And it's not because of his play on the field. People feel like he's too much of a distraction, brings too much drama to the table. So that's why they said no. They feel like it's bad vibes, and they don't want the bad vibes over there in Cleveland right now. You know, why Shedeur was there, and they put things together, right? So Stefon Diggs is a no in Cleveland. I don't know where he's going to end up. They did give him his money, so he can't complain. What that tells me is they just keep moving him around. He came in the league, looked like 2015, so I don't know. That might be it for him, or he might get a smaller contract somewhere, which fits Cleveland. It fits Cleveland. And if he end up in Cleveland, it might mean he's controllable. And you know what I mean when I say that. Because I felt like he wasn't, because he got injured with the Texans, right? But I wonder if he himself have caught on, that they just really moved him away from CJ. I don't know, because again, the Texans have been to the postseason for 3 years in a row with all of the disruption, with the failures of the O-line, the failures of the other players, right? They still, like Shedeur Sanders, managed to get to the postseason. So what it tells you is Shedeur, Regina Daniels, and Penix Jr., barring injury, can still get to the playoffs. Does that make sense? So now that you start thinking about these injuries to Jada Daniels and CJ Stroud, that's the only thing that took them out. And enters Shedeur Sanders. And now the Browns want to keep the quarterbacks they have. You see where this is going? So the question is Shedeur going to be like CJ with another failed O-line and receivers, not Christian Kirk, not Schultz? Or is it going to be like Jada Daniels and Michael Penix Jr., unavailable due to injury, season-ending injury? And these are things people don't want to think about. You better think about it, because you better look for it. And he better look for it. One of the things that Shedeur learned in Cleveland is how to get the hell out of the way. That could be his saving grace, because it was this year. He realized what was happening, and you saw him get the hell out of the way. Shedeur's gift is awareness. So it says, Mary Cabot of the Browns says, the Browns may not be prepared to move forward with the quarterbacks. They may be prepared to move forward with the quarterbacks on their roster. It said, I came away from Indy thinking that the Browns were pretty content and ready to go forward with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders and see what they could do in a competition. So they want, though, there it is. There it is. So pitch Shedeur against Deshaun. That was always the plan from the beginning. When they were looking at Shedeur at number 2 overall, they already had Deshaun, and he still had 2 years left on his contract at $46 million each. So you owed him about $92 million, and you looking at paying Shedeur $40 million? So that tells you right there that Shedeur's pre-draft, we're going to get you at number 2, all up until 4/4 of 2025 was premeditated, because that wasn't going to never happen. That wasn't going to never happen. So they baited him in only to switch and cut bait after every other team has solidified who their target was in quarterback. They already knew. I told y'all they know. Just like they know this year, they know. So there it is. They want those two to compete. Let me know how you feel about the competition. I don't have a problem with them competing. But understand this. They were not going to live it down having Shedeur to compete against Dylan, which is why he got to go, or anybody new. Because not only is that disrespectful, it's discriminatory, because you use the competition to your guy. He's your guy. He proved it. So how you going to bring in somebody this year knowing you want to get somebody else next year? So what they have decided to do is keep who they have, pitch Shedeur against Deshaun. Now, let me tell you where they're probably going to come in at. And this actually works for both of them, right? They can split the time. They can split the time. But do the Browns or the NFL really want that? You know why? Did they let Deshaun practice toward the end of last year when they said they were going to give him the opportunity to show what he could do after injury? Remember, it never happened. It never happened. You know why it didn't happen? It never happened because the plan was to, when they paid Deshaun $230 million, it seems, was to put him on the shelf. And what made him unavailable? The same thing that made Jada Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. unavailable. Season-ending injuries. I bet the insurance company paid all 3 of their salaries. So it should make you look at injuries a little different. as a weapon to make certain quarterbacks who you don't want to succeed be unavailable. And it also explains, when you look at the pattern of injuries of quarterbacks, why it is white quarterbacks had things like turf toe and black quarterbacks were rendered unavailable for the season with ACLs and all these serious things, with ACLs being the most popular. The disparity in injuries between white, black quarterbacks tells you that there appears to be, it should be looked into, malfeasance and targeting of black quarterbacks for injuries to move them out the way. So like CJ Stroud and Regina Daniels, they don't get put on their backs. And then there's excessive sacks. Also a weapon used against black quarterbacks who come in their rookie year. Or who they want to move out the way, like Russell Wilson. Where is Russell Wilson? So we're talking about very harmful acts being used against black quarterbacks, which could shorten their lifespan, obviously shorten their careers. But when you sit and you realize that there's a pattern, you see the intentionality, and that's where we have criminality. So we'll have to see where Stefon Diggs ends up. Now you know it appears that they want Deshaun to compete against Shedeur. Shedeur shouldn't have to compete at all, and they do not want Deshaun to get out here and prove that he's good. But I believe there's already a narrative. Just like Jacoby Brissett, who was made QB2 in Arizona, when he stepped up to QB1, what did they say? The same thing they said about Jameis Winston, who left Cleveland also like Jacoby Brissett. Winston left Cleveland devalued and was sent as a 3 after he was a starter the year previously with the same trash O-line with different characters, with the same trash coach, the same saboteur for a coach. And Deshaun Watson rendered unavailable after being excessively sacked 33 times in 7 games. So if Deshaun Watson gets to play, they already have the narrative that they used for Jacoby Brissett after they devalued him, and Jameis Winston after they intentionally devalued him, and both came through Cleveland. Oh, he's really QB1. Wow, he looks good. I heard the same thing about Malik Willis, whose name was associated with Cleveland. So as you can see, there's a lot of patterns meeting right here at the middle in Cleveland with quarterbacks that have been to Cleveland, in Cleveland, or never even came there, but some of their personnel has. The intentionality of it is what could negatively affect the mental of all of these players initially. And it's why I keep saying they need to talk and compare journeys. Because if they compare journeys, they're going to get to right where I am. The intentionality of the injuries, the excessive sacks, the derailing, the devaluing is racially motivated. So let's see how far this competition between Deshaun and Shedeur gets. Because if there's 2 quarterbacks for the season, Dylan is being let go. So Cleveland doesn't have to be accountable for bringing him in as a wedge, knowing he was not better than Shedeur. So they seemingly think they're going to escape accountability for that. Then we're going to pit these 2 black guys against each other and keep Shedeur from being the QB1 that we know he is against Deshaun, that we've already said is trash and has played his last snap in the NFL. And neither one of them will be on the record as QB1. Let's see which one gets moved out the way. All right, I'm heading over to the comments to see what y'all are thinking. Let me know your thoughts. Please like, hype, and subscribe. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much. It said, when you know you're lit, it said, you know you're lit. That's straight facts. Straight facts. Thank you, Ramon, for holding it down. Hey, Anthony. Hey, everybody. How you doing? It said Cal State pimp, men's basketball coach. It said, guess his day job wasn't enough. Right. Running, pimping through 4 states. Pimping through 4 states. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mama Tia. Hey, Shy. Welcome back. Welcome back. It said daytime rent parties and all certain types of girls. It said big bucks involved. That's crazy. It said if it was going on in 2012 to 2013, it's still going on. Straight facts. It's not new. That's what it is. It's not new. It's just not new. It said the mom is paying attention to her son's contract, but will keep using her third eye. Straight facts. Because she gonna it would surprise me if she already know. It would not surprise me at all. It would not surprise me at all. So that's gonna be interesting to see what's going on. That's gonna be very interesting to see what's going on. Mama Tia said parents pay for them to have their behinds in school. It said, sorry to say, I've seen many to lose full scholarships becoming neonatal doctors and all PhDs. It said parents pulled their butts out of school partying. Yeah. It just seems like the pimping is not new. That's just what it's given. 20 million followers and counting. Big facts. Yep. I mean, it's crazy. It's coming together. This is the year. It's coming together. It's actually coming together. And the Browns, by pivoting to just Shedeur and Deshaun on the surface, you know, people gonna look at it and go, "Oh, they two black quarterbacks. They not racist." That's number one. But they're not looking at that they're being pit against each other when they both should be starting on two different teams. They're not looking at Deshaun being used as a wedge like Dylan was, knowing that they've had Deshaun all this time. And now he gets the opportunity solely to block Shedeur, like the Texans block CJ. Washington is blocking Jada, and the Falcons are blocking Michael Penix Jr. What I said you're not going to see this year is in your face sabotage. But what did I did say you would see? Quiet sabotage. And everything I just described with the four aforementioned quarterbacks, including Lamar, which is fine, is quiet sabotage. I said it took a special kind of fool to do what Stefanski did. So I hope the $15 million a year is enough to clear his conscience and to stave off karma and accountability. It better be. Because when you close your eyes at night, everything you did gonna come right back before your eyes. See, you can't escape your mind, and your mind know what you did. And God can see your heart. Stay tuned for the conviction of that sad heart of Kevin Stefanski. It said Diggs is perfect for Cleveland because Cleveland likes to pick up players that have done bad things or black sheep. See, you know what I'm saying? Why? And why do you think that is? Because they can control them. They can get them to submit. So if I'm at the end of my career, well, if you want to come back for a few more years and get a few more million, set up Shedeur. If you want to come back if you came in the 7th round, like KT Leviston, and you want to come back again, set up Shedeur or CJ. Right? Cam Robinson, you're not that good. You already set up CJ. Come over here and set up Shedeur. The other guy, Green, I think, he was over there with CJ. Let's see what he do. Let's see if they keep him around. Let's see if they keep him around. We're going to start talking about units. We're going to start talking about, we already talking about the O-line. We touch on the wide receivers. I don't hear any talks about the wide receiver movement at all. Which means they planning to draft somebody or they going to keep what they have. And that's going to be a problem. Then we're going to talk about the tight ends because I believe we're going to see some things happen there. We're going to see a nice, big, probably rewarded, fat contract for the one that ripped off Shedeur finger, or if the heat is up, move to another team and reward it like Stefanski. So he's going to be Mark Andrews or Stefanski. But these things seem to come, sabotage of your own teammates, especially your black quarterbacks, seem to come with rewards, monetary rewards. I still want to know how Jerry Jeudy went from a $21 million guarantee to a $43 million guarantee in 1 year, and he was leading the leagues and dropping passes, and he never got benched because he was serving a purpose. Like Joel Bitonio, dirt diving, and he's still somewhere quietly in the shadows until they decide what he gonna do? Because he was gonna retire, but they were like, no, 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 no. So maybe they're gonna hopefully let us forget and do some goodwill and then bring him back. And we're not supposed to be intelligent enough to know that you was trying to play in our face. Stay tuned. So Stefon Diggs is not in y'all's radar. I think now that he has no contract, I think he's the type of player like Odell Beckham Jr., where the league, has basically can send somewhere else. And the Browns tend to like him cheap, especially, from what we've seen, But Titus Howard's contract, I want y'all to know, I welcome him to the team. He winning in this, but I got news for him. That contract probably coming with something, because how is it you send a 5th round pick over there, which means you don't think much of him, but you bring him over here and pay him $63 million. And he came from the Texans with CJ Stroud, and we just talked about that. And he might not be aware yet. And from what I understand, he didn't give up a 1 sack or 0 sacks. And from what I could see in the little bit I saw of the Patriots game, right up until they scored and the touchdown was taken away, and they were pushed back because a lineman decided to throw up a penalty. You know how that goes. The same script that we see with Shedeur was happening with CJ Stroud, down to the receiver playing around with the ball. Or he just wasn't good. But using a receiver to do it, using O-linemen to flag penalties, to not protect the quarterback. It's the same script between the Texans and Houston. So what that tells you is they know Shedeur is fully capable of putting that team on his back and taking them far. And the Browns stopped their own quarterback. That's what the evidence supports. That's what the evidence supports. The pattern supports. Their behavior supports. It's there. But just like a lot of things in larger society that are known and evidentiary in society, nobody's doing anything about it. It's the same thing. But the way things are today, and it might take a minute, they won't be tomorrow. So the evidence is already there. Just waiting for things to change, for accountability to show the hell on up. It said that bad press is too much for them. That's what you think it is, Amber. It very well could be, because understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is a pivot. And we will be paying attention to see what's behind that pivot. And Amber said she thinks that, it could be the press. It could be, because naming all of these other quarterbacks, and they were all black. And I was asking the question. So is it that you just want another black quarterback to come over here and be pit against Shedeur, and Shedeur pit against Deshaun, and this is your way of capturing black quarterbacks and derailing their careers? It could be. It could be. It could be the press. Let me know what you think it is. We'll be back tonight at 10:35. We'll be talking about Colorado. However, we will be talking about the Browns, because the quarterback shuffle, they're now pivoting. So what's going on with that? Is it going to be like Dan Quinn? Suddenly the Browns going to want to shift to a run-heavy offense for a year or two, because it works to bring in a quarterback that is not like that, and you make him a check down king, and you let the running back do the work. As you can see, they're trying to pin Quinshon Judkins up against the wall about Shedeur. Now, one of the things I've quickly come to realize about these Browns players is they know what time it is. They're coming for Myles Garrett, talking about his speeding ticket. I asked the question on X, is Myles Garrett the only Cleveland Browns player to get tickets? Because why is Myles Garrett's tickets the only ones we hear about? So coming from Myles Garrett, trying to pin Quinshon against the wall, bringing somebody who you sent a 5th round pick for with $63 million with the same $43 million guarantee, similar to what you gave Jerry Jeudy. So what is it you expect of Titus Howard? Titus Howard better keep his head on the swivel, but I know he saw it. And he even said, yeah, I kind of knew it was going to happen. These guys are not dumb. But what I think I'm starting to see is them quietly, behind the scenes, banding together and presenting something else to the media. Like, yeah, we like everybody. That's smart. That's how they're going to have to move. That's what I want to see. You're going to be intimidated. You're going to be coerced. So you need to find a way to survive and not be that. That's what you need to do. So stay tuned. Now, they're going to put somebody in there to infiltrate the guys that are gathering behind the scenes in the shadows, right? They're going to put somebody in there that they can trust. Think about Bryce Underwood. They're going to put somebody in the room to figure out and come back and tell to the big bosses, oh, yeah, really, they really all down with him. They just ain't saying. Oh, okay, so they're going to know who to manipulate. They're going to know who to lean on. They're going to know who to look for dirt on. They're going to know who to push out. This is why I want these guys to talk. I want these quarterbacks to share their journeys because they need to share the survival because you're going to need to survive. It's a war in the Middle East, but it's also one over there where these black quarterbacks are concerned. Taylor Green already getting a taste of it. They need to rally around that young man. I'm sure they have. Not saying they haven't. I'm just saying what needs to happen. They could be doing everything I already said. But I'm happy to see that they know how to read the room. So Titus Howard, I'm pretty sure he know how to read the room because he had to do it in Houston. Until the Lions have their own historians, the history of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. African proverb. I like that. That's pretty good. That's really good. That is very good. I've never heard that before. Yeah, I like that too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Amber said, Diggs is not a good. Oh, okay. All right. All right. That's why she was talking to me. I get it. The Pinky Stomper, Judas, and Dylan Gabriel need to go with the Uncle Kev. Straight facts. Let's see where they all end up. That's a good one, Amber. I'm going to save that because it might be there when we come back, when we talk about that tonight. That's what I fear with the group chat. The spook who sat by the door will be in it. Facts. But they need to do it. But they need to see, it takes time to get to know people. And you can have people where y'all are all aligned, but they flip one of you. The point is, they need to look for the spook by the door. That's what they need to do. That's what they need to do. And it's going to be one of them. The problem is they don't know how it's going to happen, right? Because they looking at how people are when they come in. No, y'all can all be together, but they're going to get something on one of y'all. And the fact that they keep talking about Myles Garrett speeding tickets ought to tell you how they move. You try to tell me don't nobody on 71 get a goddamn speeding ticket for the Browns. You see how they target people? Look for the spook by the door. It's going to be one of your own. Learn from Bryce Underwood's story. Check up with the phone. Check the one with the phone and the one that's ear hustling and and the one that got some issues that they could use to extort, because that's what this is called. It's called extortion. Extortion, coercion, intimidation, and retaliation. We saw it last year. It will be back this year. If they got stuff on one of them, that's the spook by the door. If not, they're going to make up something. It's going to be the money or it's going to be one of their problems. All right. Especially if you got a vice. Especially if you have a vice. All right. I'll see y'all later. We'll be back. Oh, I'll be back if you want to join us for my Dubai exit plan. That's the next that is the next Dubai podcast update that we have. If you want to join us, I haven't scheduled it yet, but it's getting ready to come up probably about the 7:30 hour. Then we'll be back at 10:35 with Colorado and the Browns pivot. See y'all later. This was awesome. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. I'll catch y'all later. Thank you for joining the Midday Huddle, everybody. Do not forget to subscribe. If you love the content, please subscribe. Hit the like button. And when you see the hype me up, make sure you hype me up. Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a good evening, okay? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up.